Two huge matches coming up for the Socceroos, China and Japan in World Cup qualification. It's the first time that Tony Popovic is taking charge of the Australian men's national team as well. And we simply need at least one win from these games to get our qualifying campaign back on track. Let's talk about these matches and these opponents and sort of the challenges that we might face in these games and what sort of starting 11 we can expect Australia to field in these two matches. We'd love to get your thoughts, predictions on these matches. What's your expectation out of these two games? Straight off the top, obviously the China game is probably the one that we're expected to win. Having said that, we said a similar thing about our first couple of games and didn't manage to score a single goal in our first couple of games. The Japan game is a tricky one though. That's the one that I think we're really going to struggle to come away with a result from that game. Japan are in fantastic form. A really, really tricky opponent as they always are. First of all, let's talk about China. We are taking them on this coming Thursday in Adelaide. Great to see the Socceroos returning to Adelaide. Hopefully a sellout there at Adelaide Oval. China currently ranked 91st in the FIFA rankings. Unfortunately for them, their rank has steadily been dropping over the last couple of years. China struggled in their first couple matches of this round of qualifiers, losing both of their matches. They lost 7-0 to Japan and then 2-1 to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia also had a player sent off in that match as well. But China just scoring 1 goal in the first couple of games, conceding 9 and currently sit bottom of the group. China and Australia have actually met 7 times over the years and it's actually pretty even. 3 wins for Australia, 2 wins for China and 2 draws as well. But this game is simple, I think, for Tony Popovic and Australia. We simply have to win. A win would be perfect for new head coach Tony Popovic to get the fans on his side, and we simply have to win. Regardless, I think Australia would be expected to win this game, but considering the circumstances, Australia currently sitting 5th in the group, a loss against Bahrain, the draw against Indonesia. If we want to be in those top 2 places, automatically qualifying for the World Cup, we simply need to win this game. If we fail to win this game, despite it only being the 3rd game out of a total of 10 matches, it's going to put us seriously behind going ahead in the group, and especially considering that next up in the following week is the Japan game. It's going to be really, really tricky to get a result away to Japan. So the China game is simply a must win. 3 points is priority for Australia in this game against China. Let's talk about Japan though, because this is going to be a really fascinating test for the Socceroos. And I tell you what, if we get any sort of result from this game, even a draw, I think that would be a massive achievement for Australia, considering the fantastic start to this round of qualifiers that Japan have made. Japan currently ranked 16th in the FIFA rankings, 7-0 win against China, 5-0 win away to Bahrain. This is a team who have so many star quality players playing at the highest level all across the world. They absolutely dominated those matches too, not only in the scoreline, but you look at the possession stats and they dominate the ball. 78% possession against China, 77% possession against Bahrain. So Australia might have to utilize the counter-attack in this game. This could be a key game for someone like Nestori Nkunda to get in behind on the counter-attack. 14 meetings total between Australia and Japan over the years. Of course, we remember the very first meeting back in the 2006 World Cup where Socceroos defeated Japan, grabbing their first ever World Cup win. Very famous victory. Feels like a long, long time ago now. Since then, head-to-head, 6 wins for Japan, just 2 wins for Australia in 14 meetings. We have struggled over the years against Japan, 6 draws overall. Australia haven't defeated Japan since 2009. It's a long-standing record, Japan. We remember when we faced them a few years ago when we were qualifying for the 2022 World Cup and struggled against them once again there. So huge test here for Tony Popovic and the Socceroos in this match, that's for sure. So let's talk about the Socceroos and what we can expect from these 2 games. Of course, Australia just slipping down a little bit in the rankings, 25th in the FIFA rankings right now as it stands. Of course, our first couple of games, as we know, the 1-0 loss at home to Bahrain, which was a huge shock. And then the 0-0 draw to Indonesia, which was a slight improvement. We created some opportunities in that game, but again, lacking that quality in front of goal. So for Australia, what has to change in this game? We just need to see the energy rise, more enthusiasm, a bit more creativity going forward. We did a live stream last week covering the Socceroos squad announcement, but there's been 2 huge changes since then. Massimo Luongo, who's returning from international retirement, is unfortunately out due to injury. The same with Connor Metcalfe. He misses out due to injury. So Luke Bratton of Macarthur SC has received a call up, as well as Patrick Yazbek. Great to see Yazbek back in the squad. He was a part of the Asian Cup squad earlier this year. Luke Bratton, though, what a surprise to see the Macarthur midfielder called up. Look, no doubt he's had a great campaign with Macarthur SC, playing that defensive midfield role. He is one of the best defensive midfielders in the A-League. But quite fascinating considering that we've got the likes of Max Ballard, Josh Nisbet, Nectar Triantis, the list goes on. All of these guys who could sort of play that defensive central midfield position but Luke Bratton, the 34-year-old, has been selected by Tony Popovic, a fascinating choice. But let's talk about a potential lineup we could see for the Socceroos, and I would love to hear from you guys. Who do you want to see starting in this game? Who simply has to start for Australia in order to get a result against China and hopefully get something out of the game against Japan? For me, here's a possible starting 11 that we could see for Tony Popovic's first 11. I'm expecting a 4-2-3-1 formation. It's a formation that Popper has used quite a lot over the years. So Ryan in goals. Now, that's an interesting one. I don't think Ryan has that locked in at all. He hasn't featured for AS Roma this season in a competitive fixture, which is a little bit concerning. Paul Izzo has been playing plenty of football. He could certainly get the run, especially against China here. I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Izzo does get the nod here. Even former Adelaide United goalkeeper Joe Gauci could potentially feature in this game. I wouldn't be fussed if any of those keepers start, but for me, you'd probably expect Matty Ryan to start as usual. For my back four, I'm going Miller, Suter, Rolls, and Boss. Geordie Boss, great to see him back in the squad, and for me, I think he gets picked over as is Bajic. Provides a little bit more going forward and will be dangerous on the attack. Right-hand side, Lewis Miller. I still think he's probably the Socceroos' best right back right now if he's fit. An opportunity for Jason Guerrier to make an appearance, but I think Miller does get the nod ahead of him. And Suter and Rolls, I think, are a lock for the centre of defence. Burgess hasn't been playing at the moment for Ipswich Town. You got Tommy Deng and Gianni Stensons, who could potentially come off the bench as well. For the 2 6s for me, I think we're going to go Aidan O'Neill. He's a really, out-and-out defensive midfielder and a really solid option at the base of midfield. And I think partnering him will be Jackson Irvine. If Luongo was fit, I probably would have gone Luongo in this position to partner O'Neill, but that just feels like a pretty solid defensive midfield partnership. I'm playing ahead of them in that number 10 role. I'm going Aiden Hrustic. Obviously hasn't played too much this season, but he's the kind of player who can really unlock a defense. Maybe the kind of player who we missed in those couple of games last time around against Bahrain and Indonesia. It could be Riley McGree playing in that position as well. That is certainly an option as well, and he could really flourish in that number 10 role. But I think these couple of games are really set up nicely for Aiden Hrustic to play an attacking midfield role, give him free reign to sort of just drift around and really influence the game in that attacking playmaker position. And then for the wingers and striker, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think Goodwin has to start on the left wing as always. Mitch Duke probably gets the nod ahead of Apostolos Stamatolopoulos, but I like that Stamatolopoulos could provide us a different option off the bench if we are still chasing a goal, but Mitch Duke probably starting up top. And then the right-hand side, I think Iran Kunda just simply has to start. You look at the other options there. We do have Valupale, Arzani, Sammy Silveri in there as well. Some decent options, but to me, all those guys will be utilised to make an impact off their bench. All those guys are good players, but Nestor Nkunda, I think he simply has to start. He's such an exciting player. We did see him start in that Indonesia game, but he was playing more of a central role, wasn't he? It was like a 4-4-2 formation, playing as one of those two central strikers. Play him out on the right wing in his natural position. We saw him tearing it up at Adelaide United over the last couple of years, playing on that right-hand side predominantly. So I think Iran Kunda surely has to start on that right flank for the Socceroos. This team should certainly be able to get a result against China. For the Japan game, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Hrustic was dropped out for maybe a more defensive option, maybe someone like Keanu Bakis to come in and play a bit more of a deeper sort of more of like a 4-5-1 formation as we just try to hold Japan scoreless and hopefully get on the counter-attack, utilize the likes of Goodwin and Iran Kunda on the wings, Duke leading the line up top as well. As mentioned, feel free to drop your starting 11 in the comments and what's your expectations for these two games. How many points can we expect from the Socceroos? For my predictions, I think we need to get that win against China, and I think we will get it. I'm going to go 2-0 win on home soil in Adelaide. Again, it's just simply a must-win game. The Japan game, look, it's the toughest game of the group, playing away to Japan. As long as we try and go in with 100% effort, put in a solid performance, really try and nullify Japan's attack. If we can come away with a draw, I would be stoked with that. I would be really happy with that. This is the trickiest game in the group. Honestly, though, for my prediction, I don't expect Australia to win this game. I'm going to go for a 2-1 loss for the Socceroos. But as long as we put in a solid performance, we see some improvement across these two games overall compared to the last two games, I'll be happy with that. We're going to be doing live watch-alongs for both of these games here on the Code Switch Football YouTube channel, so make sure you join us for both of these matches as we watch and react to the action live together. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hit the like button on the way out. My name's Lockie, this is Code Switch Football, and I'll see you in the next one.